5 teenage convicts who showed no remorse in court. Imagine that you have been declared a convict for an offense by the judge in a court of law. What will be your first reaction when you hear the judge saying that? You will show some kind of remorse, won't you? Well, some convicts don't. In today's video, we will have a look at 5 teenage convicts, yes, teenage convicts, who showed no remorse in court when they were declared a convict. Stay there till the end of the video, as you will get to know the other side of the convicts as well. So, without wasting any more time, let's get started. So, the first convict is regarding a teenage boy named TJ Lane. Lane shot 6 students at Chardon High School in Chardon, Ohio on February 27, 2012. 3 of them died. According to witnesses, Lane only had a grudge against one of these victims. 2 other Wooden students were also hospitalized, one of whom sustained several serious injuries that resulted in permanent paralysis. The 5th sustained a minor injury, and the 6th sustained a superficial wound. By the evening of February 27th, authorities had identified the suspect as Thomas M. T.J. Lane III, who was a 17-year-old male juvenile who used a bus at Lake Academy Alternative School. Lane made use of the handgun of a .22 caliber. Lane was quickly apprehended by police near his parked car outside the school. Charges of aggravated murder, attempted murder, and felonious assault were eventually indicted against him, but due to his age, he was held as a juvenile until the prosecution and court decided whether he would be tried as an adult. Based on his court video, as you can see right now, Lane did not regret his actions. He perplexed the jury with his defense, likely knowing he would lose the case. He jokingly wore a shirt that read "Killer," and he treated the entire affair as if it were a joke, smiling and cursing at the victims' families the whole time. Can you even imagine what kind of boy he was? Next up, we have another teenage convict whose name is Shondell. So, Shondell Jackson was found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide and robbery in the case of Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee student in 2010. Shondell Jackson and 20-year-old Derek Thomas attempted to rob Nathan Potter as he walked home to his apartment. Nathan Potter was not carrying any money when, in a fit of rage, Shondell shot him, resulting in his death. Authorities were eventually called to the scene, but it was too late during the victim's death and criminal trial. When Jackson was escorted out of the courtroom, he showed no remorse or sorrow, and even smiled at a child in the victim's family. As the news reporter stated, the police in the courtroom acted quickly as if they had expected it, and they did, because the convicted killer had acted that way. Officers had to use pepper spray to restrain him during his trial, just moments before Shondell Jackson's attorney asked Judge Dallas to consider the 19-year-old youth and, as the attorney puts it, his lack of impulse control. During Shondell Jackson's trial, members of his family stood in the back of the courtroom and taunted Nathan Potter's family. A woman yelled at the Potters, and another woman yelled at Potter's mother and father, who were holding each other and crying. During the trial, Nathan Potter's father, John Potter, addressed the judge, Rebecca Dallas, saying that there is nothing that can be said to bring back Nathan, but he asked for punishment to fit the horrific crime, because the act was pure evil according to him. Shondell Jackson was found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide and robbery, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jackson, who is currently 31 years old and has already served 12 years in prison, will serve his sentence until he dies. Next up, we have Michael Swanson. Swanson was 17 when he went on a killing spree of 2 gas station patrons in an hour. Swanson went to the Crossroads gas station on US Highway 18 in Algona just after 9 p.m. on November 15, 2010, wearing a mask and asking the clerk for cash and cigarettes. Swanson shot her, even though she had complied with the request. Swanson shot and killed Sheila Myers, who was about 61 years of age, at a come-and-go convenience store. The teen told the police that he shot both clerks on purpose to keep them from calling authorities or identifying him. There was no link found between the stores where the shootings occurred, and Swanson acted alone. He declined to disclose some details about the shootings, including whether anyone else was in the stores at the time, and why Swanson was there. Swanson was apprehended at McDonald's in Webster City, about 60 miles from the first shooting, while both victims followed his orders but were killed anyway. Michael Swanson was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of burglary. All allegations about Swanson's motives were answered by him, as one of the victim's daughters gave a victim impact statement. During that, he was also seen smiling and laughing as well. As per the court's order, Swanson will not be eligible for parole until he reaches his mid-90s in 2089. The next convict is Anthony Rodriguez. He was on parole at the age of 18 when he raped, kidnapped, and sexually assaulted a 25-year-old woman in Martin Luther King Jr. Park, dragging her 105 feet into a bathroom. Anthony had previously been arrested for violent crimes, but this appears to be his first arrest for a sexual assault. The Kirk County District Attorney claimed that Anthony Rodriguez had been silent the entire time, but that changed when the judge sentenced him to 25 years to life. Rodriguez immediately started to speak to the judge with tears in his eyes, cursing and calling the decision unfair. He was forced to sit down after the trial because he was unhappy with the outcome, and his mother claimed that he did not deserve life in prison. Mike Zarate Jacopo, who was charged with sexual assault, was also arrested for the same crime. He was held in a downtown jail for 35 days until DNA evidence cleared him, but the evidence instead implicated 18-year-old Anthony Rodriguez in the crime. The last teenage convict in this video is Dante Wright. He was found guilty of second-degree murder after being charged with armed robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, felony firearm possession, and the killing of Jordan Klee, who was just 18 years old in Ann Arbor, Michigan. At a hearing, Wright admitted that he and 2 other friends were attempting to rob Jordan Klee when he shot and killed him. Wright received a sentence of 23 to 50 years in prison. Wright grinned and nearly laughed as the relatives of his victims read the impact statements in the courtroom. After that, the defendant, Dante Wright, who was just 17 years old, addressed the court, saying that he just wants to tell everyone that he will be home soon and that he loves his family. Wright's body language irritated the judge, who asked prosecutors if the sentencing agreement was too light. Judge David Schwartz of the 22nd Circuit Court of Appeals stated that he is very tempted to say that he's not going to accept this sentence agreement, and the court will go to trial, and if Wright is convicted of felony murder, then he will go to prison for the rest of his life, which means that he will die there. And that's what the judge was feeling to do. Dante Wright's lawyer apologized on his behalf after the break, saying that he has emotional issues and he didn't mean to hurt anyone by smiling. With this, we come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.